Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Friday?
Let's go Mets.
Yeah, well, what a game. What an absolute game. Pete Alonso, when it mattered the most, 3-run home run, send the Mets to ALDS to face the Philadelphia Phillies, which that should be a hell of a series. The chances the Mets win that, my guess would be pretty low.
Yeah.
But if they keep hitting like they have been, I'm going to give them a lot of faith. I'm going to give them a lot of credit for what's happened. We're not talking baseball today. We got a lot to cover in the world of football. We got a lot of Devante Adams. I hinted at it. People were upset about me saying that he's going to go to the Chiefs. I'll talk about that later on in the show, as well as Thursday Night Football, Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Atlanta Falcons. We'll get into that right now, which is the first topic of today's show. What a game. Finally, we got a good Thursday night football game. This one was an absolute battle, overtime battle. Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield. Kirk Cousins setting a Falcons record with 509 yards. He also had 4 touchdowns and an interception. While Baker Mayfield, while it wasn't like an all-star performance in the case of numbers, if we just talk about efficiency-wise, Baker Mayfield actually played pretty well. 180 yards, 3 touchdowns, nearly 80% completion percentage. He played very well, and this is probably the most balanced Buccaneers we've seen running and passing in a very, very long time. But I want to know, overtime win, Kirk playing incredible, prime time, how impressive was this win for Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons?
I'll just say before I get into that, on the Let's Go Mets, and I got my Let's Go Mets t-shirt on, I think they have a chance against Philadelphia because of the way they won the wild card series in such dramatic fashion. I think it gives them a lot of confidence. I'll be watching. So getting on to the Falcons here, my takeaway here from the Falcons is Falcons never say die, never give up. Looked like they were beat twice, right? When Mooney missed the pass and Cousins threw the interception with less than 2 minutes to play. There were 5 lead changes in the game. Lots of lead changes there late in the game. Here we go. Here's the drop pass. That was shocking, actually, that he dropped that one. And here goes the INT, which he threw it right to him, man. That was a bad interception. He got lucky that the defense stopped him. And that's I'll get into my Bucs take, but I want to just finish up here with the Falcons. Never say die, never give up. They made the plays when it mattered. To get that tying field goal, a 54-yarder by Koo, who was only 3 for 5. He had a lot of trouble early in the game, but he made it. He made it when it counted, and that was not an easy field goal. And the TD in overtime to Hodge, who was a journeyman guy, he'd only had one other touchdown in his career, and in this case, look at this. Where was the defense, man? There was sloppy tackling by the Bucs all night long. They had their chances to win, and they just blew it. But this guy, 5-yard pass. The other guy, the defender, went for looked like he was trying to go for the interception, and he missed, and that gave him, he lost his chance for the tackle. And then Hodge just outran everybody to the end zone. He said they put him up on their shoulders after he scored that TD. He said, I tried not to cry, but I did. So I thought that was kind of cool. I think Cousins is the first time he's ever passed for 500 yards, 509 in the game. It was interesting. His previous total was 460 yards. He also passed Matt Ryan, who was was the record holder for the Falcons with 503 in a game. And it was interesting that that was the night that they put Ryan in their Ring of Honor. So Cousins came up big and made people forget about Matt Ryan. Cousins said, it's amazing what you can do when you're out there on the field and you're getting more chances. And he completed passes to 7 different receivers. I think what he's getting now is confidence, understanding, and anticipation. Morris, his coach, said football is all about confidence. They had 550 yards of total offense. They ran 30 more plays than Tampa Bay did. It was quite a performance by the Falcons. And before I get into the Bucs, I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Well, let's start with the Falcons. Let's keep it synonymous
Okay.
with one another. Was this an impressive win? Absolutely, because Kirk Cousins has a history of choking in the big-time moments. The last time we really saw Kirk Cousins in a massive big-time moment, I'm sure Giants fans are happy, which was the wild card game between the Vikings and the Giants, where at that point, the Vikings were actually 11-0, which was an NFL record in one-score games, which is absolutely absurd. And then Daniel Jones took him to the cleaners and ended up winning that wild card game. But that was the last really big-time moment we saw. You could also argue this season, Chiefs, Falcons, they nearly won that game. But I'm talking about really big moment when it mattered the most. And I think this game really showed that because it was a battle. If Kirk Cousins really slipped up one major time, now that was almost the case in that interception in the fourth quarter, which I'll bring up right now. This was nearly a complete game changer in the sense of this would have ended the game for the Atlanta Falcons. That was a bad decision, never covered. It didn't even look like he was looking at the receiver until the very, very last moment, but thank God that the Buccaneers decided to do something stupid. That final drive, which was pretty pitiful, 3 plays, minus 14 yards. That's how bad that very last drive was before overtime. It was run, penalty, run. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It was run, penalty, pass, but it was a backwards pass, minus 2 yards it got, and then run for basically no gain. So thank God that turnover did not equal points because that penalty actually knocked them at a field goal range and they had to punt. But Kirk Cousins played very well. 509 yards. You just can't say that was a bad performance. He had 4 touchdowns, over 72% completion percentage. He was incredible. He engineered a beautiful game-winning drive, actually game-tying drive, and then a game-winning drive when Kadarrell Hodge had that massive 45-yard touchdown. But finally, this is what I said earlier in the week on Tuesday. Pitts. Kyle Pitts. He's on a milk carton. Well, not anymore. Because this was a great play. Open the game with this. Second play of the game, 32-yard reception to Kyle Pitts. He had a great day. I actually benched him on my fantasy team. He screwed me over. I got 12 points sitting on my bench. I have Cole Kmet in there instead of him. But thank God, get him involved. They were playing him out wide a number of times, which doesn't make a lot of sense. He was getting matched up sometimes with Jamel Dean, their number 1 cornerback. I mean, he's a tight end, and in that position, he was lined up in a tight end spot. So that's what they need to use him as. But I think the major X factor, and this actually happened twice in the game, was Jesse Bates. He had an incredible performance. He actually had 2 forced fumbles, one that was immediately recovered by Mike Evans, but this one was an incredibly crucial one. Because if Bucky Irving keeps going, and that's probably going for a first down, if not more, Jesse Bates knocks it out beautifully, the Buccaneers very well could have put this game away. But thank God, Jesse Bates, beautiful forced fumble. Mike Evans was not there to recover it in minus 2 seconds, and the Falcons were able to recover it. But congratulations to the Falcons. This is a big-time moment. You take the NFC South crown for the time being. Kirk Cousins played phenomenal in prime time. The Buccaneers, both defenses really had no answers for each other. This was not a defensive game at all. Yeah. It seems like the Bucs could do whatever they want with the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons now move from 5th in blitz percentage to 4th, but they remain dead last in quarterback pressure percentage.
Yeah, well,
that math doesn't add up.
Cousins, I mean, he was like out there just playing toss in the backyard. The receivers were wide open. It was unbelievable the amount of space they had. So this comes to my second takeaway, and this is the one on the Bucs. We got to play all 60 minutes of the game. Come on, let's go. Bowles said we didn't close it out. They had multiple chances to win after Mooney's drop and the interception of Cousins. They couldn't get the first down to keep the Falcons off the field. First down would have given them, as you said, that first down. And one first down would have ended the game. Instead, they went backwards. You can't let that happen. They got no one to blame but themselves. They've lost the last 2 of 3 after starting 2-0. Sloppy tackling. Look at that. They didn't tackle Hodge after he caught a 5-yard pass. He ran all the way to the end zone in overtime.
14 missed tackles, by the way.
Yeah. No pressure on the quarterback. Come on. Cousins standing back there. He's a guy that's had an Achilles heel injury. He's immobile. He does not move at all. He drops back, stands there, looks around, throws the ball, or takes a sack. He's not somebody that's going to be, turning a broken play into something special. It's either he's got the time to throw the ball and find the open receiver, or the play is over. One thing I'll say for in defense of the Bucs, injuries on defense, right? They don't have a Winfield, Gadecki or Camry or Whitehead got hurt in this game. I mean, on the plus side, they did start fast. They scored 24 points in the first half. Mayfield had 3 TDs in the first half. They started fast in the first half of the Eagles game too, and hung on to win that one. But and actually won going away. But they don't score any points in the second half. They only had 9 points against the Eagle, 6 points against the Falcons. So, they got to figure it out. I mean, they have a team. It seems like they can. They're reasonably well balanced, as you said, a better balance than we've seen. Their running game has never been much the last few years, but White had 72 yards rushing, and who else was out there rushing? Irving, he had 6 for 42. No, actually, Mayfield had 6 for 42. Irving had 9 for 44, but he fumbled the ball. Come on.
Yeah.
That would, as you said, that could have been a game-ending play too. They had 3 different chances to win the game, and they muffed them all. And so that can't happen. The defense, Smith had 9 tackles. Dean had 9 tackles. The special teams, Tucker really good on the punt returns. He had 2 for 86. Irving 1 for 39. Thompson 1 for 21. The kicking. Their field goal kicker was perfect, 3 for 3. We had a long of 53 yards. The punter only punted twice, but 43.5-yard average. On the Falcons side, where was Matthew Judon in this game? Did he get a tackle? Or he didn't have a sack?
He had 2 pressures. That's it.
2 pressures. That's it. Come on, you got to play better than that.
2 tackles, 2 pressures.
Yeah, you got to play better than that. He's supposed to be a superstar out there. So. Hats off to the Falcons. They found a way. They never gave up. They never said die. Boo on the Bucs, who didn't play all 60 minutes of the game.
I think what we saw from Baker Mayfield was incredible. I mean, he orchestrated several beautiful drives. He ran when he needed to. When it seemed like Mike Evans or Chris Godwin would get too much attention, he would just break open from the middle of the field and run for a bunch of yards. I mean, he has done a tremendous job so far since coming to the Buccaneers. And you know what? I'm glad you haven't, really drilled this into me in a very long time. I keep getting more wrong and more wrong and more wrong about my previous Baker Mayfield take. But I did admit I was wrong at the time, because when he came to the Buccaneers, my God, he went from like he's 15 to 20 overall quarterback to now being well above the top 15, and you could say at least right now, and it's crazy to believe some of the top 10 quarterbacks so far this season, but Baker Mayfield is playing like a fringe top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, well, Cleveland should have hung on to him. The reason he played poorly for them is he was hurt.
Yeah.
He tried to play when he was hurt. He shouldn't have. He should have said, you know what, I'm hurt. Take me out of the game, because it made him look like he just wasn't a good quarterback, and that wasn't the deal. He was hurt.
Right. Well, I would say that there were 2 massive, actually pretty crazy plays. This first one was a touchdown throw to Darnell Mooney, and my God, Kirk Cousins with the accuracy on this play, and Darnell Mooney to get up there and make this catch. This is the All-22. I mean, this was a spectacular catch. Turn around, boom, land on it. And how about Baker Mayfield? The placement of this throw. Look at this. Rolling out to his right, firing, and that angle looks like it's okay. But check out this back angle. I mean, this is one of the tightest windows you could probably say. Look at that. Beautiful throw to Sterling Shepard. A gorgeous throw. There were 2 tremendous plays in this game. But I think when it comes down to it, it was the Bucs' inability to get that first down after the Kirk Cousins interception, and then several missed tackles. I mean, McCollum, he was trying to go for the pass breakup, it seems like. Just get the tackle. It's overtime. You're just trying to mitigate the amount of yards you can get to either keep them in field goal range to only allow a field goal, because you don't want them scoring a touchdown. Otherwise, you saw what happened. 45-yard touchdown for Hodge. End of the game. But this is the game that I've been waiting for, that people have been waiting for. A phenomenal Thursday night football game, which Amazon has been screwed over a number of times. So thank God we finally got an exciting game.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, 509 yards.
Do you think anybody will surpass that this year? 500 yards, 4 TDs?
I would need to look at the quarterback to defense matchups, but my guess would be no.
75% completion percentage?
I mean, it's incredible.
It's boosting him up the rankings a lot. As you said, fringe top 5 quarterback for sure.
The Falcons had 17 missed tackles. 17, and the Buccaneers had 14.
Yeah.
Tackling has been an issue.
It
a lot of teams.
It was not a defensive game at all.
Yeah.
It was all offense.
Yeah, it was. But you know,
it was fun to
that's
watch.
exciting.
It was
yeah.
fun to watch.
Exactly.
I enjoyed the game a lot.
All right, let's get into our next topic here. So I hinted at it in our Chiefs topic covering the Chargers game on Tuesday, but now it looks like, things are moving very quickly. Let's take a look at the favorites to select Davante Adams to acquire him to trade from. This is how it looks like. The Jets are the clear favorites. The Saints in the number 2 spot, largely because of Derek Carr for his time at Fresno State. They were teammates, and then for about 2 seconds on the Las Vegas Raiders, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in there, Commanders, Cowboys, Raiders for him to remain on the team. That does not seem likely at all. Chiefs, 49ers, Bills, Ravens. Now, what's interesting is that earlier today, Davante Adams actually posted an Edgar Allan Poe quote, which makes it seem like the Ravens are in a pretty big play right now. So could he just be baiting teams to be like, okay, I'm thinking about this team, raise your offer? I'm not entirely sure, but what I do want to know, though, is what team do you think should pursue Davante Adams, and what fit do you think, which is the best fit for Davante Adams so far? If it's not the Raiders, because I don't think he's playing another snap for them, to be honest with you.
No, he's out, right? He's not playing this weekend.
Yeah, he's dealing with an injury.
Dealing with an injury. I think it's the Jets. They got the odds there show that they're number 1 chance for him to go to them. He wants to go there. But, maybe he's thinking, wow, look at the Jets, man. They just can't seem to find a way to win. And this season, it looks like another 1 step forward, 2 steps back so far. Maybe it's because they don't have a wide receiver like Davante Adams, who Aaron Rodgers is really comfortable with. I say his chemistry with Garrett Wilson is still a work in progress. And Mike Williams, where's he? I don't hear much about him. So I'm sure that. And Aaron Rodgers has said, I want Davante Adams since the first day he arrived with the Jets. I mean, they're playing golf together. He's talking about Adams. Hey, we got to have you on our team. And so I think his chances of going there, I think, are the highest. And I think the reason it will happen is because after the Jets get smoked by the Vikings this weekend, they're going to say, you know what? We got holes. Our offense can't score. And I don't think they're going to score against Brian Flores' defense this weekend. And our offense it can't stay on the field long enough to keep our defense rested. They get beat badly. They're going to be out there getting Davante Adams for sure. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler. He's told the Raiders he would prefer to be elsewhere. His salary cap hits $13.5 million. It drops by $968,000 per week until the November 5th trade deadline. Has 2 years remaining on his deal at $36,250,000 per year. Neither of which is guaranteed. As I said, he fits best with the Jets because of his time with Rodgers and Hackett. He's rumored to be interested in. They've always rumored to be interested in Adams since Rodgers came to New York. Chemistry between Rodgers and Wilson is a work in progress, as I mentioned. Same is true with Mike Williams. Passing game right now for the Jets ranks in the bottom half of the NFL. They've got the cap space to make it happen. They've got extra 3rd and 6th round picks. So I think they're going to be out there trying to get Davante Adams.
And I think if you're going for betting odds, meaning you're going for what you feel is right, that is the most likely outcome, I agree with you. It would be the Jets, because I think when it comes to Davante Adams, what's he going for? Is he going for comfortability, so Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, or is he going for Super Bowl? Which obviously I'm not dying on this vine, but I will say it again. Why not the Chiefs? Monetarily, it's going to be very difficult when you talk about salary, because his contract, Davante Adams' contract, takes a massive leap next season. His base salary goes from $16.9 million to $35.7 million. That's a massive jump. But it looks like the Raiders most likely would have gotten off him anyway, because his cap hit would have been north of $44 million next season. So they probably would have wanted to avoid that. But when it comes to an in-season trade, whatever team would trade for him would owe him about $13.2 million in base salary over the remainder of this season, which decreases at $940,000 each week he gets his game checks. And then next season, that team would owe him $36.3 million. But my guess would be no matter what team Davante Adams goes to, there will be some sort of reconstruction of his contract. Because when it comes to at least the Chiefs side, I don't think that'll be a long-term solution. That would be a case of we're going for the three-peat. Rice most likely is going to be gone for the entire year. It looks like Hollywood Brown's already gone for the entire year. Xavier Worthy is not a volume wide receiver right now. And Travis Kelce, if we only have Kelce to throw it to, well, then they're probably going to double him more than they have been when we had Rice, who was dominant, when we had Xavier Worthy and he has those gadget plays. I don't think you can rely right now on Xavier Worthy if he's just a gadget guy.
It's a rookie.
Also, Pacheco's missing massive time. So if you have all these guys down, you're going to have to trust, Noah Gray, the backup tight end? You're going to have to trust Xavier Worthy as a volume guy?
They have Hardman on the bench.
Juju Smith-Schuster. Yeah, great.
They're back where they were last year in terms of receiver core.
Except you don't have Kadarius Toney, which I think is a massive plus.
Yeah.
Addition by subtraction.
Yeah, but I don't think the Chiefs are
going
to get him.
It would be very uncharacteristic because the Raiders
I
fully
hate
understand.
the Chiefs.
I fully understand that. Correct. But if we're talking about if the Chiefs are desperate and they feel like they actually need a wide receiver, they will create the best offer possible to go out to get Devante Adams.
They'll have to overpay big time.
They would, but if it's in the sense of I'm about to make NFL history by three-peating and moving, Mahomes basically knocking on the door of Tom Brady to make him the greatest of all time, and this is just a one-year thing, I think they would do it. I really think they would, because think about what we've seen so far. Mahomes is all over the place. We got Travis Kelce, Mahomes in commercials, Andy Reid's in a commercial. Everybody, it seems like. Kelce's in every commercial you could think of. Subway commercials, State Farm commercials, Andy Reid's in State. They're all over the place. But I also think it's interesting when we think about the Baltimore Ravens. And I think that's a team that deserves some serious consideration. My only problem is kind of the game plan of the Baltimore Ravens. We've seen history speaks loudly. When Lamar passes it a lot, they don't succeed. And I keep talking about this game, 2022, which was Brady's arguably worst season, his last season with the Bucs, in maybe his entire career, at least when he became the Tom Brady we know. Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, decided to pass it a lot in that first half. They were losing. Then they pick up the running game exponentially. They take care of the Buccaneers like they were a bottom 10 team. This is a run-first team, and especially with what we've seen the past 2 weeks of Derrick Henry, 20-plus carries. Wow. Please give him the ball more. And Lamar Jackson scrambling, that's my only issue. However, that could actually help out the run game if people are fearing that Davante Adams is going to be a massive part of the passing game. But that's actually something the Ravens have done. In recent history, they've been acquiring guys who are 30 or near 30, and they've done decently well. Now, I don't. You disagree with me, but the acquisition of OBJ. I mean, think about this. Last time we saw OBJ before the Ravens, if he kept playing, arguably could have been Super Bowl MVP because he was playing that well. Then he comes to the Ravens, has an okay season, and I could completely agree with you. In the playoffs, or at least against the Kansas City Chiefs, completely disappeared. But what did we see in that game against Kansas City?
They didn't run the ball. They should have run it.
They didn't run the ball at all. So my guess would be, I think obviously, I think Devante Adams would want, and this is a bad idea, comfort over Super Bowl. So I think if I'm betting on what team he will actually go to versus what is his best fit, the New York Jets would be the correct answer.
I think you're right. I think he wants not so much comfort over Super Bowl as he wants the ball thrown to him a lot. And Aaron Rodgers is the one that's going to do that. But how about the Bills? Shakir's hurt. Samuels, who they traded for, has been a non-factor, and Coleman is a rookie. Adams would step in and immediately be Allen's best weapon. The Ravens game, I think, exposed holes in the Bills' offense. Can the Bills go toe-to-toe with the league's best without a player like Adams, and given their receiver core is a little banged up and it lacks experience? How about the Bills? I think that it'd be troublesome on the salary cap piece of it, but I think that they should really be looking to get him. That would make a big difference for them.
Also, there are two teams that I think could be interesting, but I'm not sure about if they would actually move it, and it's actually teams 3 and 4 on this list. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Washington Commanders. We've seen Jaden Daniels perform this well with guys named Zacchaeus and also Noah Brown. Also, I understand Terry McLaurin, who had a great game against the Cincinnati Bengals, but we're seeing that Jaden Daniels is a legitimate superstar, which is, again, why I thought the Patriots should go for him, but instead the Commanders made the right choice in selecting Daniels over Drake May. But I think he could be the Commanders could be a very viable option depending on how much they want to give up, and also because if they do add Devante Adams, the Commanders have the 7th easiest schedule the entire rest of the season. So imagine the way that Jaden Daniels is playing right now, plus Devante Adams. That would be incredible, but I think the second team as well, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've seen George Pickens do okay, but Arthur Smith and Justin Fields, I guess, as we should have predicted, they're running the ball a lot. So their wide receiver, too, Van Jefferson, has 36 receiving yards on 73 routes. His half yards per route are 94th out of 100 receivers.
Yeah. I just don't think the Steelers are going to throw the ball that much. No. Their winning formula is devastating defense and ball control.
Right.
And Justin Fields being more of a game manager and not making mistakes. That's worked pretty well for them so far.
I agree. And I think the biggest disappointment, and this is not only with Davante Adams, but it's a common and repeated thing, is the Dallas Cowboys. You didn't go out and get a running back. You didn't go out and get another receiver. You upgraded barely on defense. Your running game sucks. Your passing game is very underwhelming because it's once again
one-dimensional.
It really is. Now Brandon Cooks is hurt for this upcoming game for who knows how long he'll be hurt. He has an infection in his knee. I think that the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones saying, yeah, we're not going to go for him. That's a massive mistake. I like how Jerry Jones says that the Cowboys are all in, but all in means everybody in the building already needs to be all in. That's not what all in means.
Yeah.
All in means you will do anything and everything to succeed because we've seen season after season for 30 years of Cowboys having a lot of potential and then coming up short.
Yeah, they've already spent a lot of money. I think that bringing him in and having him
they could have spent less if they spent it sooner.
Yeah, well, they didn't do it. Now they've spent a lot, and they probably don't feel like they can afford him. I think the Commanders would be an interesting choice. McLaurin and Adams, a devastating duo. They've got the cap flexibility. With Daniels' play, it's no longer a 2 or 3 year rebuild. They have a chance to make the playoffs this year. Although Adams, I understand, in some summer podcasts, complained about the Commanders. He said he didn't like their stadium, and he doesn't even like the city of D.C. So he didn't do much for his welcoming and with the Commanders. The Steelers, I don't think he's going there. As I said, I think they'd have to get creative with the salary cap. They have their 1 and 2 pick next year, so they've got the picks that they could give up to get him. They're facing stiff competition from the Ravens and maybe the Bengals too. It might be the right time for them to strike to try to get him, but I think he wants to go to a place where they're going to throw him the ball a lot, and that's not going to be Pittsburgh.
I'll say this: as the days go on, this becomes a bigger loss for the Las Vegas Raiders, because that would mean that the value of Davante Adams is not that massive in the sense of people are basically going immediately and paying the highest price for him. I think this is going to be a waiting game, as we've seen a lot of situations. And think about this. What if Davante Adams pulls a Brandon Ayuk and says, I'm not going to resign with that team. I'm just not going to show up. The Raiders wouldn't trade Davante Adams in that case. So I think this will come down to, and I understand he has a no-trade clause. He does not have a no-trade clause. But I think he might pull an Ayuk, where if the Raiders trade him to, let's say, the Browns, and Deshaun Watson has just played horrible, I think he might be like, okay, well, I just won't show up. Because I think really, now Davante Adams has said this season that he's not upset with the Raiders or whatever, he doesn't want to leave. Yeah, how about the Receiver show on Netflix where he was, complaining about Jimmy Garoppolo and got him benched? What happens to, talking about Aaron Rodgers and saying, it would be great to team up with him again? The writing was on the wall. We even talked about it way early in the offseason with Boomer Esiason saying that Davante Adams will be a Jet. And everyone's like, no, that can't happen. He's going to be on the Raiders. He's saying that he doesn't want to leave. Yeah, I care more about what he's actually doing. His actions say that he was displeased with Jimmy Garoppolo, got him benched, and now look at what's happening. Is Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell as his two quarterbacks. And Antonio Pierce saying that some players made business decisions. I think really that the writing was on the wall from day one, that this was just not going to work out. And also Antonio Pierce liking a Sports Illustrated Instagram post saying that Devante Adams plays last snap with the Raiders. Turns out that entirely was the case, most likely. Actually, depending on whether or not he comes back next week, because this would be a week or 2 week injury. Now this would be the second week. Whether or not this happens, but going into next week. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think there's a 0% chance Devante Adams is in the silver and black next week.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is going to pick up. I
think it's going to happen really soon?
I can't see Devante Adams taking another snap. After requesting a trade, after Antonio Pierce doing what he did.
They have till November 5th to trade him, and the cap hit goes down every week.
Right.
So, but they're paying him too. So, and he's not on the field. I
think the Raiders would need to take on a decent amount of the money. I think that's the big thing. If a top-tier team gives them a good offer, they would obviously negotiate saying, hey, Raiders, we'll be willing to give you a second-round pick. But you need to take on a big chunk of that salary if we're going to take him. We'll overpay, because think about this. Stephon Diggs got, a fourth and a fifth to go to the Texans? Keenan Allen, I think, didn't get a great deal either. I mean, these top-tier receivers who are around 30 years old, they're not getting second-round picks, and that's what the Raiders are originally asking for. So I think if the Raiders ask for a second-round pick, I think teams got to negotiate, say, hey, we'll give you a second round. You just got to take on a decent amount of the money.
He's a big piece to get, because you can have him for 3 years, and you may be able to restructure his contract.
I guarantee a team would do that, because the cap hit is pretty brutal. So, I mean, for all we knew, the Raiders could have gotten rid of him after this season if he did stay, because that north of $44 million cap hit, the Raiders don't want to take that on. They wouldn't do that with Derek Carr and his injury guarantee.
The only way they would have been keeping him is if they'd made the playoffs and he had some fantastic season.
Right, which is difficult to do when you have a not great offensive line. Zamir White, your running back.
He's been kind of a bust for them, I think. Right, Adams for the Raiders. He's complained. He had a terrible season last year. Well, this year he's hurt.
I would complain too if Jimmy Garoppolo having the 2 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and then we move to Brian Hoyer for a little bit and Aiden O'Connell, and then this season you don't draft a quarterback, you don't move up to get a quarterback, you don't get a quarterback in the offseason, and we're stuck with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. I'd be frustrated too, and you shipped the quarterback that I came to this team for. You shipped him out year 1.
Yeah.
He didn't even finish out that season when I came here, too.
Yeah.
So I would be frustrated, too, if I was Davante Adams. Yeah. So I can completely understand why. We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, Week 5 is approaching very quickly. We're going to make our picks and predictions for every single game of Week 5, as well as we had a rough Harvey Hot Hand week. We went 2-3. We're going to bounce back, though. A couple great games that I'm going to talk to you about that you should bet on. We're going to talk about that, though, right after this break.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance, and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our Week 5 picks. It was a rough week for me when it comes to the point spread. I went 5-10-1. Another 500 straight up, though, 8-8 for this week. But it's time, Week 5 picks. So let's begin with my picks, starting with, obviously, last night's game. I picked the Atlanta Falcons to win and cover, which they indeed did. But let's jump right into the rest of Week 5. Jets at Vikings. This one's interesting because it's Sam Darnold's revenge game against a Jets team that has not looked great. We have Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh, who seem to be at wit's end. They're kind of going at each other's throats with this cadence issue. I mean, I feel like I've heard about this issue with Rodgers' cadence that Robert Saleh backtracks on, but he said it originally. It seems like Robert Saleh is trying to start every fire possible between Aaron Rodgers and himself. But I think what Sam Darnold's done with the Vikings is incredible. I mean, he was seeing ghosts on the Jets. It seemed like on the Panthers he was okay, but still not that great. It seemed like Kyle Shanahan was really interested in Darnold for that 1 year. He came in for that one game, played okay, and then he goes to the Vikings with Kevin O'Connell, and it's like, my God, he's at the top of the league in a bunch of categories. They're very close to it. But in this game, I'm going with a consistent team. The Jets are all over the place. They're a very volatile team right now. They don't really have an identity. It's like Alan Lazard, but then Garrett Wilson says that the offense is not great. The running game is inconsistent. The defense is good, but not great. I'll take the Vikings to win a cover on -2.5 point spread. I'm taking the consistent team here. The next one's the Ravens at the Bengals. This one's a tricky one because it's a 2.5 point spread against the defense that is terrible. I mean, the passing defense for the Bengals is legitimately god-awful. Meanwhile, the Ravens coming off a massive win against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. I'm taking the Ravens to win here. I think the running attack, if they just stick to Derrick Henry running it 20-plus times, he is unstoppable. He has won 35 out of 45 games, averaging essentially 5 yards a carry. He has also 51 touchdowns over those 45 games. I mean, that's all you got to do. The method to win is via Derrick Henry running the football a lot. That's what you have to do. So I'll take the Ravens to win here. I think this game could be close, but with Joe Burrow not playing well, offensive line not being able to hold up, the defense just not existing, I think the Ravens are going to run all over them, and I'm going to take the Ravens to win and cover a -2.5 point spread. The next one, the Panthers at the Bears. Have we seen what Caleb Williams could look like in the past couple weeks? 360 yards, finally got a win over the Rams the following week. It seems like they're clicking now. DeAndre Swift finally ran the ball well. I was considering picking the Carolina Panthers here, but I just think with the defense, I think Andy Dalton will make a couple of mistakes here. The defense will keep it relatively low scoring for the Panthers, and I think Caleb Williams will have a very, very nice day, as well as we might see another great performance from DeAndre Swift here. So I'll take the Bears to win and cover a -3.5 points, but I say, hey, this could be the Caleb Williams that Bears fans have been asking for. The next one, the Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots. Somehow in hell, the Patriots are favored in a game. This is the first game. By the way, they have not been favored in a single game since the beginning of when the schedule came out. And finally, it took Snoop Huntley and a bad performance against the Tennessee Titans for the New England Patriots, who since week 3 have been the worst offensive team in the NFL, to be favored against the second worst offense, the Miami Dolphins. But I will take the Patriots to win here. Now, here's the big thing. A Nesson reporter said that the Patriots are on the verge of mutiny after how bad the offenses looked, with Gerard Mayo saying, we're going to keep Jacoby Brissett out there. Brissett does not look great. He played a great first game against a Bengals team that never plays well in the first 2 weeks. Ramondre Stevenson has a fumble issue. They may bench him for Antonio Gibson. We're not entirely sure. But what I will say is, I think we'll see Drake May in this game. If they start off very slow, like they have the entire season, Drake May will be out there throwing passes, as he should have been since week 1. The offensive line is garbage. It will continue to be garbage, thanks to Gerard Mayo, as well as a hint of Bill Belichick in there for personnel. They don't have an offensive line. Will they in 3 weeks, if they were planning on putting in Drake May in 3 weeks or 6 weeks from now? The offensive line will still be garbage, and now looks like David Andrews, he's out for the entire year. I mean, the offensive line is getting worse and worse and worse, and I said this weeks ago. Unless you hit on a bunch of offensive linemen and acquire a bunch in the next year's draft and next year's offseason, the offensive line in 2025 will still be bottom of the league or close to it. So waiting for Drake May to get a better offensive line, first of all, I understand a young quarterback can go through some bad moments, but guess what? If you don't upgrade the offensive line, he's going to be behind a bad offensive line anyway. Let him get used to it. He'll get banged around anyway. I'll still take the Patriots to win here. I just think some of the injuries on the Dolphins side, quarterback situation's not great. Patriots defense actually has been playing relatively mid lately. I'll just take them to win though. I think this is a stupid game just in general. Bad offenses, okay defense for the Patriots, just an all-around bad team for the Miami Dolphins. I think Christian Gonzalez will once again lock down a top tier receiver in Tyreek Hill. So I'll take the Patriots to win and cover the -1.5. The next one, the Bills at the Texans. Now, the Bills were favored all week, and then Shakir and Ed Oliver were announced they'll be out for this game a couple hours before the show started. And so the point spread flipped in the Texans' favor. I'm still taking the Bills to win here, because right now it looks like Joe Mixon won't go again for the Houston Texans, which means that C.J. Stroud, it will be left for him to throw the ball a bunch of times. And now, obviously, I was a big fan of C.J. Stroud, just watched the film. I thought he should have gone number one. I think that he needs an effective running game. It allows a lot of pressure to be taken off of Stroud. When it comes to Josh Allen, we're going to need to see Superman. That's essentially where, if James Cook can't get going, we're going to need to see like 2020, 2021, and even 2022 Josh Allen, where it's all Superman, which he can do. We've already seen him do it. Week 1 against Arizona. I think this will be a difficult matchup regardless. I do think that Josh Allen currently is number 2 for MVP. CJ Stroud, I think, is tied for 3rd in the MVP odds. I think we're going to need to see exactly what the number 2 spot means for Josh Allen when it comes to MVP. He will need to play like an MVP in order to win this game. They don't have enough talent or depth to really replace a top-tier receiver on their team like Khalil Shakir. So I'll take the Bills in an upset, though. I think Josh Allen will be able to get it done after an embarrassing, oh my God, was that an embarrassing loss for the Buffalo Bills? They'll bounce back and upset the Houston Texans. The next one, the Colts at the Jaguars. Now, the Colts have not beaten the Jaguars, I think, in 7 out of the last 8 games, and I think that continues this week. The Colts right now, it looks like Joe Flacco will be the starting quarterback, which actually makes me more nervous in picking the Jacksonville Jaguars than it would be if Anthony Richardson was out there, because Richardson currently is a bottom 4 quarterback in the NFL. But I think when it comes down to it, there's already questions about Doug Peterson losing the locker room, which is not great, especially only 4 weeks into the year. But I think that when it comes to it, the Jaguars are an incredibly desperate team. They need to play well. The defense is playing not great. The offense is playing actually substantially worse. Trevor Lawrence has not won a game in 9 straight. He needs to get something going, and I think he will, just enough to eke out this win against the Indianapolis Colts. This very well may be a field goal game, but that'll count because I'll take the Jaguars to win and cover a -2.5 point spread. The next one is the Browns at the Commanders. Jaden Daniels has been incredible this year. As I predicted, he'll be a great quarterback. Did I predict, already superstar levels of great? No, I didn't, but I thought that he would be incredible regardless. It seems like Washington has hit a really good, a golden spell, if you would, right now. Cliff Kingsbury, he's diagnosing situations and drawing up plays that is really shocking some teams. I mean, Jaden Daniels has looked incredible so far this season. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns defense has regressed. Offensive line is banged up. Running game looks like Nick Chubb is back practicing. Will he go for this game? My guess is probably no. But Deshaun Watson has played not great. He has been pretty bad, I would say, if not horrible. He lost to Gardner Minshew and the Las Vegas Raiders last week. It was pretty brutal to watch. I will take the better team, and right now the better quarterback and the better coaching in the Washington Commanders over the Cleveland Browns, who seem like a tire fire once again. The next game is the Cardinals at the 49ers. Brock Purdy has played pretty well. Pretty well. Not great, not superstar, not MVP level, but he's played pretty well against a Cardinals team that's played hit or miss. I will take the more consistent quarterback, the better quarterback, and overall the better team. I understand there's some injuries on the offensive side for the 49ers, but to me that doesn't really matter. Brock Purdy's going to operate beautifully. The defense is a little bit dinged right now, but I don't think that'll matter really. I think that the 49ers are a better coach team. They're a better offensive team. They're a better defensive team. I think the Cardinals ranked 27th in defense. I'll take the better team overall. It's a 7.5 point spread, which, by the way, this year, not good odds in picking the favorite, but I will in this case because the 49ers were favored by 10.5 last week against the Patriots and took care of business. I'll take the 49ers to win and cover a -7.5 point spread. That's a pretty big point spread for this type of matchup, which the Cardinals could be a tremendous team when they decide to play like it. like we saw earlier on the season against the Bills and also against the Rams. The next one, the Raiders at the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix, has he finally come to fruition yet? Maybe. Probably not. 60 yards the last game against the Jets, but you do pull out a win. I think that's in large part due to the defense. If Davante Adams is out, by the way, great performance last week for the Raiders. Are okay, I guess, because you're playing the Cleveland Browns. But I'll give you your props there. I think this defense with Pat Surtain is going to shut down Jacoby Myers, who will be the wide receiver 1. Zamir White is a running back, or even Alexander Madison. 2 not good backs at all, bottom of the league. I think the defenses will be another extremely low-scoring game. I think Bo Nix will do an okay job. We'll probably see about 200 yards with probably 30 rushing yards, and I think at least 1 touchdown for Bo Nix. But I think this will be hands down a victory. A defensive battle, but a victory nonetheless. Broncos cover 2.5-point spread and get the win. The next one is the Packers against the Los Angeles Rams. -3-point spread for the Packers. I'll take it, absolutely. The Rams' defense is atrocious. Pass defense is one of, if not the worst pass defense in the entirety of the NFL. They can't stop anybody. Matt Stafford is spotty. He doesn't have his top 2 targets in Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp. The offensive line is also battered and bruised. I'll take a team that nearly dethroned the Minnesota Vikings on their incredible run, nearly came back and won that game if it weren't for some mistakes, which was incredible to watch. That second half, I mean, first of all, they were getting blown out in that first half. Then Jordan Love settled in. He had 4 touchdowns. He did have 3 picks, but he had 4 touchdowns to end the day. It was actually a pretty incredible performance. I'll take the Packers, though. Jordan Love's back and is still playing great. I'll take the Packers to win and cover a -3-point spread. The next one's the Giants at the Seahawks. The Giants, Devin Singletary is doubtful. Malik Neighbors out with a concussion. I'll take the Seahawks to win here because Malik Neighbors is the Giants' offense. Devin Singletary, yes. By the way, Devin Singletary made the Cowboys' rushing defense look like the number 1 rush defense in the NFL. They were giving up like 200 yards a game, and Devin Singletary ran 24 times for 26 yards. 1.1 yards a carry. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. Or the entire Giants team, rather. That's actually terrible. So I think the Seahawks, yes, they are down a couple of defenders, but some are coming back. I think if you go up against the Giants defense, but you have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN, Kenneth Walker's back, offensive line's doing a pretty good job. Charles Cross is one of the best offensive tackles, pass blocking and run blocking in the NFL. I'll take the Seahawks in a blowout win here. They win by way more than 6.5 points. The next one's the Cowboys at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This one is probably the most difficult for me to pick, because we just saw the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had a great defense, give up 27 points to a hint of Anthony Richardson and a lot of Joe Flacco. They also couldn't run the ball against one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. This is going to be incredibly confusing. But if the Cowboys' rush defense is what it has been, with the outlier just being the New York Giants, then I think Najee Harris is going to have a great day, and Justin Fields is also going to have a great day. Justin Fields just threw it for over 300 yards, which is shocking. By the way, he set a Pittsburgh Steelers record with 50-plus rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, as well as over 300 yards in a single game. First time in Pittsburgh Steelers history, Justin Fields did it. But he's still battling for a quarterback spot, because I think when it comes down to it, Mike Tomlin said that Russell Wilson will be the starter. And I think if Russ gets healthy, if Justin Fields does not play great in this game, I think it'll be the wrong decision, but I think Russ may be out there as soon as he's healthy. So this is a big-time game for Justin Fields to settle in, make the throws he needs, and come out with a win, which I do think that he'll do. Steelers win and cover a -1.5-point spread. And the final one, Monday Night Football, Saints at Chiefs. I'm choosing the Chiefs to win, Saints to cover, because the Saints, the past couple weeks, it's crazy. They're just incredibly unlucky. Special teams mistakes, great players who are playing great now falling off a little bit, but uncharacteristically. They have a number of number 1 stats, or at least top 3 statistics, like third down percentage, red zone percentage, offense and defensive side. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, they've been down at least a touchdown in every single game so far this season. The defense plays great late, but Mahomes is throwing so many interceptions at this point. It's like an interception every single game. He's down his top 2 receivers already. He was already down Hollywood Brown. Now he's also down Rashee Rice, so it'll be up to Travis Kelce, who seemed like he's back. But who knows when it comes to when he's the only target, really, and also Xavier Worthy, but he's more of a gadget guy. I think the Chiefs do win. This game will be relatively close. I'll take the Chiefs to win, Saints to cover a +5.5-point spread. I'm hoping I do better than 5-10-1. Because that's very bad for me. That very well, I got to go check the record books. But that very well may be my worst point spread week over the past 2 years of when we've been doing this. So,
tough week.
Absolutely.
Tough week for both of us, actually.
You did actually pretty well. Yeah. So let's get into your picks.
Okay. Well, you got some interesting picks there. We disagree on a few. We'll talk about it after I'm done. Okay, so the Jets and the Vikings. I think that the Vikings are going to win this game. They're going to cover pretty easily. They got the number one power ranking in the NFL right now. They scored 116 points to only giving up only 59. The Jets, on the other hand, they got no offense. They only scored 76 points so far. The defense is good, only 62 points. The power ranking 15. I think they'll be begging the Raiders to trade Devante Adams to them after this game. The Ravens and the Bengals, I like the Ravens. They found, as I said when we were talking about the Ravens last week, they found the winning formula. Run the ball, ground and pound with Derrick Henry, and then Lamar Jackson throwing it occasionally, play action pass a lot, sets it up beautifully for him. When the play breaks down, you got the best running quarterback maybe in the history of the game who can make a play out of a broken play. I think they've got the winning formula, and their defense played very well last week against the Bills. The Bengals, on the other hand, I don't know. They don't look too good. They lose this game, man. They're really in danger. They've scored 102 points, which is not bad, but they've given up 104. Their defense is a sieve. Their power ranking 22 against the Ravens, number 6. I think the Ravens are going to win. Panthers against the Bears. I like the Panthers in this game. I think 2 weeks ago, they'd only scored 13 points in 2 weeks. Now they've scored 73 in total for the year. It's all because of Andy Dalton coming off the bench, playing really well, throwing the ball extremely well, making that offense really hum, inspiring the team. Their defense playing better, which has been horrible this year. So I think they're really going to give the Bears a run for their money. The only thing that bothers me a little bit, the Bears at home, they seem to play pretty well at home. They usually win at home. So it's probably it's got to be an upset for the Panthers to pull this one out. I think they're capable of it. I'm not so sure about Caleb Williams, whether he's really found it or not. He's looked better the last couple of weeks, but he still throws the ball all over the place with a lot of inaccurate passes. The next game is a battle of the terrible teams, the Dolphins against the Patriots. Patriots ranked 29 in the power rankings, ahead of the Dolphins, who are ranked 30th. The Dolphins only scored 45 points this year when they had such a great offense last year, number one offense. This year, only 45 points is because Tua's not out there. They've given up 103, so their defense stinks. The Patriots, on the other hand, have a decent defense. They've given up 87 points, but they only scored 52. And you're right, Jacoby Brissett ought to be on the bench now. It's time for Drake May to get out there and give it a try. At least it'll be fun to watch. I got the Patriots winning and covering. The Bills at the Texans, I'm taking an upset on this one. I think the Texans will win. I think the Bills have been exposed a little bit. They're banged up on offense with their wide receiver core. They're going to be counting on rookie and Coleman and Samuel, who has not played well for them so far this year. Allen can make a difference, and maybe he will, and maybe they'll find a way to pull this game out. But I like the Texans bouncing back. They came from behind last week to win. C.J. Stroud looking very good in the fourth quarter. I think that will carry over into this game, and the Texans will find a way to win. And they're playing at home. The Colts at the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are ranked. They got the worst power ranking in the NFL. Their defense is a sieve, giving up 109 points so far. Their offense can't score, only scored 60 points. The Colts, on the other hand, ranked number 16 in the power rankings, 85 points scored, 85 points given up. I think the reason I pick them to win now is because Richardson isn't going to be in there, and Joe Flacco's getting the call. I think Joe Flacco still got it. This is his third coming. He had it with the Browns last year, played well at the end, got him to the playoffs. He can still throw the ball. A deep ball looks good from Joe Flacco. And I think they're going to find a way to beat the Jaguars, and I think that will be the end of Doug Peterson. They'll dump him at the end of this after this week. The Browns and the Commanders. Commanders, wow, what a surprise. Ranked number 7 in the power rankings. Scored a lot of points, 121, against the Browns, who are a flop, man. They're ranked 28th. They only scored 66 points. The defense supposed to be one of the best in the NFL, giving up 87. I don't think they're going to get it done against Jalen Daniels. This is a Cinderella team. They could wind up making the playoffs this year. As you said, they have the 7th easiest schedule going forward the rest of the year. They could find a way to get themselves into the playoffs. I think they're fun to watch. And Jalen Daniels, Rookie of the Year, maybe. The Cardinals against San Francisco. I think the San Francisco prohibitive favorite. The Cardinals, again, a weak defense, giving up 106 points. Power ranking of 25. The San Francisco's had its issues here. They've lost a couple of games. The power ranking's 12. They need to get McCaffrey back in there. They've had other people banged up. Debo. Where is Brandon Ayuk? They signed him this big deal. Has he caught a pass? If he has, it's only been a couple. They have Jennings now as their big star. They may be saying, what the hell did we give Ayuk that giant contract for? I think they find a way to win and cover. Raiders against the Broncos. Devante Adams out. Never wants to play another snap for the Raiders. Probably won't. The Broncos finding it now, even with Nick's only flowing for 60 yards last week. Beat the Jets by a point. The Jets had a chance to win it. The last-minute field goal, but missed it. The power ranking for the Broncos moving up every week now. They're up to 20. They've got a great defense. They only given up 55 points. That's one of the best in the league. The Steelers are the tops with 53. 55 points. That's excellent. They have a good coach. It's Sean Payton. I think Nick's gets better week after week. I think the Raiders are a team that's kind of at sea. The coach is calling out their players in the public, and the Max Crosby hurt and Adams out, and they don't really have a quarterback. I think this season is not looking so good, and their power ranking reflects it. Green Bay against the Rams. I like Green Bay in this game, and they're favored by. They got a 3. I think they'll cover the 3 point spread. Jordan Love, Rusty, coming back last week, but he really looked good near the end. They almost pulled the game out against the number 1 ranked team in the Vikings. The Rams all beat up. Cooper Kupp out. Puka Nacua out. Maybe Williams is going to be able to play this week. Their running back, Matthew Stafford in there, but their defense is abysmal. Giving up 115 points so far. Green Bay is ranked number 9 in the power rankings. LA 23. I just think that Green Bay prohibitive favorite here. The Giants against the Seahawks. Again, I think the Seahawks prohibitive favorites. They got I like their offense. I like Geno Smith throwing the ball to their receivers. They've got some really good receivers, and they've shown it. Their passing game is great. They've scored 102 points. They got 11 power ranking going up against the Giants, who are all banged up. Malik Neighbors is out. Devin Singletary is out. Daniel Jones has played a little better, but he doesn't put the ball in the end zone. They get in the red zone, they can't score. They've only scored 60 points. The defense is not too bad, 84 points. It should be better than that, though. Their power ranking at 27. They're not going to beat the Seahawks this week. The Cowboys and the Steelers. I like the Steelers a lot. They've only scored 75 points, but they've only given up 53. Their power ranking is 10. The Cowboys, on the other hand, scored a lot of points, 97, but given up even more at 104. They can't stop the run. They did last week, but they were playing against the Giants. Their power ranking at 17. The Steelers are playing at home. I don't think the Cowboys are going to win this game. The Saints at the Chiefs. Chiefs banged up, right? They've lost 2 of their receivers. Their receiver core looking a lot like last year with some guys that are big question marks. They're going to have to try to get a wide receiver, and Davante Adams is out there. They're going to have to overpay for him, as we said. The Raiders aren't going to want to give him up in the division, particularly when they hate the Chiefs so much. The Chiefs, kind of pedestrian numbers. They scored 92, giving up 72, but their power ranking is 2, and they found a way to win. They're undefeated. The Saints, on the other hand, got a nice defense, only giving up 70 points. Their offense scored 127. Their power ranking up to number 14 now. Could be a close game, and you say you don't think the Chiefs will cover. I got them covering, but I agree it's going to be a close game, and those are my picks.
I actually don't mind those. A lot of good ones. We disagree on the Colts, Texans, Chiefs point spread, and the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think you might beat me out on those.
It's about time. I mean, what's my record?
I mean, I don't like the
spread?
Bears. I don't like the Bears.
I'm 26, 37, and 1. Yeah. That's bad. Last year I was hovering 50% and more. I was well over 50% in my picks. I think I was around 66%. I think that this should be a decent week. A couple of those, like some of the teams that are on buys, very difficult to assess. So I'm actually glad they're on a couple of bye weeks. We don't know what the Chargers look like with Herbert's injury and also with the 2 tackles down. The Eagles, what the hell is wrong with them defensively and offensively? They're just a bad team right now. The Lions, they're hit or miss. Jared Goff's not playing great. He had a phenomenal game against the Seahawks. Aiden Hutchinson having a great season, and then the Tennessee Titans, Will Levis just has a bunch of self-inflicted wounds that he can't get away from.
Mason Rudolph's going to be their starter after the bye.
Well, according to Brian Callahan, it looks like Will Levis, when he's healthy, if he's healthy, will be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, well, he ain't going to be. Even if he's healthy, they're going to say he's not healthy, so Rudolph can start after the bye, I think. That's my prediction. We'll see.
We'll see. All right, it's time. It's my favorite topic of every show that we do every Friday throughout the NFL season. It's my Harvey Hot Hand. For those who don't know what the Harvey Hot Hand is, it's brought to you by Dr. Squatch. You go to drsquatch.com/NathanHarvey or use the link down below. Get $10 off. Orders of $20 or more for new customers. Thank you for supporting the channel and supporting what we do here at the Harvey Hour. If you don't know what the Harvey Hot Hand is, I give you the 5 teams, the 5 games that you should bet on. Now, we're not great. We're 9-11 so far this season. I've gotten screwed over in a number of games. When you think about it, when you look at the game and analyze it, it makes sense. Am I making excuses? Kind of. But come on. The teams need to step up and do what their job is, and that's succeed when it matters the most. Especially, I'm still mad over that Colts-Steelers game. The worst rush defense against a great rush offense. Arthur Smith is a rush offense, and they absolutely blown out through most of that game. It was bad, but Justin Fields did play well, though.
When Justin Fields had 31 fantasy points. I mean, he had a great game.
Yards.
He had over 300 yards, and they lost to the Colts after they beaten the teams that they beaten. They should have beaten the Colts.
I agree. I agree. That was one of my picks.
But the Colts were favored in that game. Interestingly, they were.
Yeah,
they were favored.
And also, where did the Steelers defense that was great throughout the entire season and T.J. Watt being a terrorizer? Where did that go? I have no idea. Anthony Richardson was lighting him up until he got hurt, and then Joe Flacco did a very, very effective job, I would say. It's time for my Week 5 picks for my Harvey Hot Hand. So let's begin with the first pick of Week 5.
Jets at Vikings.
So this one I love actually a lot. It's a Sam Darnold revenge game, but I think the story of the Vikings is indeed the Brian Flores defense, because they have the second best rush defense, which does not help Aaron Rodgers, who's over 40 years old, who relies on Breece Hall and Braylon Allen to actually be relatively successful. He dinks and dunks to Allen Lazard. Garrett Wilson has been a no-show basically the entire season. But think about this, though. The Brian Flores defense, they are number 1 in blitzes, quarterback hurries, quarterback knockdowns, sacks, and pressures. They are pressuring every single quarterback they play. They go after it. They force you into mistakes. Meanwhile, Sam Darnold, what a comeback story his has been. He's number 1 in touchdowns right now. He's 3rd in yards per attempt. He has the 10th most passing yards in the NFL currently, and he has the 2nd best passer rating. I mean, he has done an incredible job. I do think he does get this revenge against the New York Jets. They come out with a big-time win here. This is in London. And home teams in London generally do very, very well. I'll take the Vikings to win 24-20 and also cover the -2.5 point spread. The next one.
Packers at Rams.
So this one has a lot to do with the Rams offense and how the Packers will exactly exploit it. The Packers lead the NFL in plays of 20-plus and 30-plus yards. Meanwhile, the Rams allow the 3rd most plays of 20-plus yards and the most plays of 30-plus yards. It is a perfect blend of what the Rams suck at and what the Packers do great at, as well as the pass defense for the Rams. They are absolutely abysmal. They give up the most yards per attempt. They have the second highest touchdown rate allowed, and they also have the 3rd highest completion percentage allowed. They can't stop anybody. The passing-wise, they are terrible. They're also 24th in pass rush win rate, and also they are last in explosive play rate allowed. They are giving up massive plays. The Packers rely on Jordan Love really to throw the ball very well. And think about this. A banged-up Jordan Love that was not 100% with his MCL injury came, and by the way, in the first half and through most of the game, did not look great against a Vikings defense that was blitzing the hell out of him. He came back and nearly won. The Vikings were on an absolute tear, and Jordan Love came this close to beating up that defense. I will take Jordan Love and the Packers to win 28-24, cover a minus 3-point spread.
Giants at Seahawks.
This one has a lot to do with just scheme. What do the Giants love to do? Target Malik Neighbors. Who won't be available for this game? Malik Neighbors. Also, if they try to run the ball, Devin Singletary's their guy. Not for week 5. He'll be out in this game. Meanwhile, some of the Seahawks are coming back. It looks like they're getting relatively healthy on the defensive front, and that's going to be great against the Giants' offensive line that is really hit and miss. It's done an okay job, but I think against this defense also, with a couple defensive backs coming back for the Seattle Seahawks, also Geno Smith is on an absolute tear recently. The Giants' defense has to go up against JSN, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. Meanwhile, Geno Smith is completing 72.3% of his passes. I mean, he's done a great job so far this season. The Giants rank 30th in rush defense. K9's coming back. Kenneth Walker is coming back from his injury. He should be perfectly fine. But Danny Dink-and-Dunk won't have his key player in Malik Neighbors, who's setting records for yards, for targets, for receptions, for touchdowns. First couple games as a rookie wide receiver. He'll have to feed Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton, as well as hopefully get Jalen Hyatt involved, if he even exists on the Giants roster anymore. It seems like he doesn't get involved whatsoever. This is going to be a difficult game for Daniel Jones, and the last time we saw Daniel Jones play this team, he got sacked, 10 times, had a 99-yard pick six for Devin Witherspoon. This is going to be a pretty brutal game for the New York Giants. I had the Seahawks winning 31-17 and covering a minus 6.5-point spread. The next one.
Cowboys at Steelers.
So this one's a risky one, I'll admit. And I think I've bet the Steelers on every single, or bet with them or against them in every single week so far. So it's kind of hit or miss for me. But I think when it comes down to it, the two top rushers for the Dallas Cowboys, Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, are going to be out for this game. So what happens then? Because you can't stop the run with them there. What's going to happen if they're already gone? The Cowboys will need others to step up, which so far it doesn't even matter because they are so bad regardless, even with their top guys out there. Also, Brandon Cooks is out, so it'll be highly reliant on CeeDee Lamb and probably Ferguson. So if the Pittsburgh Steelers can just play their form of defense, also with Tyler Guyton being a terrible left tackle so far, I think the the Pittsburgh Steelers defense will get to Dak Prescott, force him into mistakes. Dallas is still the 26th rush defense, even though they completely shut down anything the Giants tried to do. I think Najee Harris is better than Devin Singletary. I think he'll do great. I think there'll be option runs for Justin Fields. The running game will pick up, and even then, even if it doesn't, to the sake of efficiency-wise, Justin Fields still threw for 312 yards and became the first Steeler to have 300-plus passing yards, 50-plus rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns in the same game. Or at least, I think it's 2 rushing touchdowns in the same game. Setting Steelers records, and this is a guy who's still fighting for the starter job. Give him the job already. And I think this game will prove it with the win over the Dallas Cowboys. I say the Steelers win 23-20 and barely cover, but do indeed cover a minus 2.5-point spread. The last one, shockingly,
Saints at Chiefs.
I think this one's a little bit risky, but I'll take it. Right now, it looks like the Saints are just really unfortunate here. I think really this is an unfortunate season so far because they started out being extremely dominant. And right now, it looks like the past couple games, it's been relatively unfortunate. You had a strange game against the Philadelphia Eagles where the Eagles defense hit when it hasn't hit for a number of games now. Also, Jalen Hurts did not play very well, but you still ended up losing. Saquon Barkley really had the only scores of the game, and meanwhile, offensively, you can get nothing going whatsoever. Then the following week, you go up against the Atlanta Falcons, where Younghoe Koo hit a game-winning field goal against you. I think this time you're going to get it turned around. Alvin Kamara right now leads the league in scrimmage yards, and when it comes to the Chiefs, they're down already their number one receiver in Hollywood Brown, or I guess you can call him number one, number two, depending on what you think of him, but they're also down Rashee Rice. So they're down their top 2 receivers, and the passer rating for Rashee Rice is a little over 110. The next highest receiver, 82. And that's even with Mahomes throwing an interception basically every single game. Mahomes has been very uncharacteristic so far this season, as has Travis Kelce, but we got a hint of what Travis Kelce could be. But when it comes down to it, the Saints are 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 games as road underdogs, as well as when it comes to how the Saints have been playing, in points scored a game, They're number one. In third down percentage offensively, they're second. And here's the big thing. In red zone percentage offensively, they're second. Defensively, they're number one in the NFL. So when teams get into the red zone, they don't allow you to score. In fact, they have a 22% rate in the red zone, number one in the NFL. So I do think this will be a close game. Chiefs do get the win, 30-26, but the Saints do cover. I think the Saints will figure out a way to keep the game close. They're, like I said, Saints are 7-1 against the spread in the past 8 games as road underdogs. I don't hate this pick at all. I think this is very interesting because Mahomes has not looked like the same Mahomes we've seen. They've been down more than a touchdown, at least a touchdown, in every single game so far this season. And the last time we saw last week, they were down 10-0 to the Chargers with no top-tier receiver, with a banged-up offensive line, and a defense that's been okay, that's been playing, depending on the matchup, obviously, been playing okay. Justin Herbert also was dealing with a high ankle sprain in that game, too, and you were down by 10 points. So I will take the Saints to cover, Chiefs win 30-26. And as always, you get to kind of grade my picks and tell me which ones you think are easier to bet on. But yeah, what's your reaction?
Let's go back through them again.
Sure. Which ones? So there you go.
The first one.
The first one. Jets Vikings.
I like that one. I think you got that one right.
The next one is Packers Rams. Packers -3.
I think that you got that one right.
You also got the Giants Seahawks.
Yep, I agree with that one.
And then Cowboys Pittsburgh -2.5 Steelers.
That's a close one.
You bet that one too, though.
I did, but I think it's close. I think it's going to be a very close game, but I'll go with that. I don't know. I was looking through the rest of the opportunities here to pick. I guess I'd go with that one.
And finally, the one that you were shocked by.
That one
Saints
I
Chiefs.
would have gone with San Francisco Cardinals instead. I think San Francisco will cover 7.5.
Should I go on Patriots -1.5?
I don't know what's going to happen in that game. Anything could happen there. Yeah.
I
think the only plus there is the Patriots playing at home.
That's fair. All right, so those are indeed the picks for Week 5. Tell me how you like them in the comments down below. Clips go up tomorrow. If you missed any part of the show or want to take it on the go to any place you get your podcast. Type in the Harvey Hour, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as iHeartRadio as well. Just search in the Harvey Hour. It'll be there for you in case you missed any part of it. But yeah, for this episode, the Harvey Hot Hand brought to you by DrSquatch.com. Go to DrSquatch.com/Nathan Harvey or use the link down below to get $10 off orders of $20 or more for new customers. Thank you for supporting the show, as always. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name's Nathan Harvey. That'll be the last topic. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We have been the Harvey Hour, the host of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Tuesday. Week 5 is going to be a hell of a week. I think there'll be a lot of great games. We already started off on a phenomenal note with that brilliant Thursday night game between the Bucs and the Falcons. Let's hope for some great games. I think the Bills-Texans is going to be a great one. I think depending on some of the outcomes, I think Bengals-Ravens could be an interesting one as well. But obviously we'll talk about that coming up on Tuesday. Which one? Cowboys-Steelers is also going. We'll see how the defense plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, we will see you Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to